Greetings and welcome to this video tutorial on conducting frequencies and generating graphs using the Excel program. And here in particular we are going to consider looking at a pre-existing database that has data collected on 99 individuals, and we're going to want to estimate, for example, the number of demographic groups such as race, ethnicity, or sex, or any other demographic variable. And so for specifically today we're going to consider frequencies, and then once we do that is how we can represent the data using some sort of graph. Here we have an Excel database that has information collected across 99 students. We see that each student is represented in a row, and each variable is represented in a column that includes which school, perhaps if the individual was coached or not, some test scores, pre-test, growth, some other achievement data. We also have information on English proficiency, some other data, race, ethnicity, and also individuals' sex. And so you can see here for each variable has a very short, concise label. One thing you might notice is that within this file I have these little tabs here across for each variable. This can be, you can format this. What essentially you're doing is if you highlight your database and you bring it in and you just click format as a table, and what it'll allow you to do then is it'll turn your table into where you have these little tabs. For example, if we go to gender, and what we can do is allows us to manipulate the work data set. If we click on sort smallest to largest, you can see individuals with a gender labeled 0 come first, and then the ones thereafter. So this is where you might need a variable coding sheet to know whether or not 0 represents males or if 0 represents females. And you can also do this according to different test scores, sorting them. Perhaps you only want to see, for example, the information provided on those with gender equals 0. So if we go select all, we can just unselect those with a value of 1. And now we're only looking at the results of 99, or about 53 individuals with gender equals 0. And so sometimes we want to disaggregate the information that we have collected so we can make decisions and make comparisons across specific groups. The purpose of this module here is to first generate how do we estimate the frequency, for example, of the number of race ethnic groups in the data. Here I already have some information to help us answer that. And we have a race variable with 8 possible values that are labeled 1 through 8. Here I also have a column labeled frequency that has the values already estimated for the entire database. And what we're going to do is replicate that frequency here to know how many different race ethnic groups are represented in data, which we will report in our results. So the first thing is, in order to do frequencies, is we have to have the variable in our data set that we want to estimate the frequencies, but then also a label such as on the variable that we want to estimate the frequencies for. In this case we're going to do race, and we have 8 values, so we have to have that specified. This is what for an Excel it's called data bins. It's kind of where the values are then going to fall for each specific value on that variable. And so our frequencies that we want to estimate are going to fall along this column here. And what you're going to notice is you want to highlight one more row than you have values. So you can see I highlighted race 1 through race 8, but then also highlighted one extra row. And this is needed by default within Excel to estimate the frequencies. And so with those values highlighted, those cells highlighted, I'm going to go up here into the formula bar. I'm going to hit the equal sign because that's going to tell Excel that we want to estimate some descriptive statistic and put in these cells. And in this case, it's going to be the frequency. Here, we can pick from a whole range of different options, from frequency to a sum. We want to add up some values, the median, the centralmost score in the distribution, calculate the average or the mean. But here we're going to focus on the frequency. And when we click on that, we see we get a function argument box. And so we have two sets of values that we have to tell Excel to use. The first is the data array. And this is the values that we want to estimate the frequencies on, in this case race. So I'm going to highlight the entire column of individuals there. And so here we have N2 to N100, which is that entire variable row that corresponds to race. And then we're also going to have to hit our bins array, which is our values 1 through 8. Because that's where our frequencies are going to fall into. In order, and what's tricky with Excel here is to estimate the frequencies across the entire race values, is we have to click on Shift Control before we hit the OK button here. So right before I'm hitting the OK button, I have the Shift and the Control button pressed down, and I click OK. And you can see we just replicated the frequency distribution that we had here. We can also click on this bottom cell here to check, have we included all 99 cases in this frequency distribution. And we can do this again by clicking on the cell, conducting a simple formula of adding up all the values. So I'm going to click sum, and the number are right here that correspond to our values of 1 through 8, because we just want to make sure no one was left out. And since we have 99 cases in the database, we should have 99 individuals counted for here, and we do. And every time we make changes, we want to make sure we save. Likewise, maybe we want to estimate the frequency for males and females. Same process, we highlight one extra cell than we have. Going to hit the equal sign. Tell Excel we want to estimate the frequencies. We have two arrays, the data array for our gender, and our bins array, which is the categories that you want to estimate the frequencies for. And before I click on the OK button, I'm clicking down the Shift, Control, OK. And you can see you get this value here. Don't worry about it, because you really just need, you're estimating the frequency for both. And to double check it, equals, we want to do a sum. We just highlight the cells that we want to add up. We hit OK. And so we have 99 individuals. This is the information that you'd want to report on those who you've collected data on, such as surveys or measures of academic achievement. What extra thing we want to do then is maybe graphically display the data, which we can do by generating a graph. And we can do that by clicking the Insert. We're going to do a bar graph. We have different graphs that you can play with. But here we want to do a graph for males and females. And you can see Excel, I had some highlighted here, but we just want to double click on that. But everything we want to do is in the select data. And let's just clear that out. So we're starting with a blank slate. So I insert the chart, and we have this information. We have to now fill in what we want to use. And we want to add in the data for males and females and their values 53 and 46. Click OK. And our horizontal axis, instead of 1 and 2, just male, female. And we can just click OK. And now we just have a different kind of graph to represent the data. And we can certainly go in by double clicking here and editing it, giving a name such as number of males and females. And there's different types of ways we can format this just by manipulating the graphs up here. That's probably not a good one, but here's a pretty good one here where we have males and females on the x-axis and numbers on the vertical axis. And so the graphs can be manipulated here by clicking on the side thing, right-clicking. We could format them by having the maximum value. The minimum value could be all the way down to 0. We could do minor units or major units in 2, or values of 5. And so there's different ways to manipulate the graph in order to present the data in a report or PowerPoint slides or whatnot. And such graphs can be readily put into a Word document or PowerPoint by highlighting the graph, right-clicking, and just copying and then pasting into another PowerPoint presentation or word processing document. This concludes this module on generating frequencies in graphs in Excel. Thank you.